Alrighty, online class students. This is lesson 10. It is the drawing progress of project 2. So we're going to be taking our drawing from that very simple envelope stage to a more developed linear drawing. And then this video in particular, I did have some audio trouble, so I apologize for any kind of audio problems in the footage. But the objective for this week's lesson is, as I said, to further develop the drawing and progress the lines closer and closer to a finished linear drawing in preparation for the development of our painting. And if you missed last week's lesson, I would definitely review that, because last week's lesson not only covered how to start this, so we're going to be working in site size for project 2. There's going to be 2 printouts per photo reference. So last time we worked on the envelope, so this was the envelope, and now it's going to evolve from this into more specific lines. So let me change this, and like magic we have changed from the first printout to the second printout. This one is the remember, with each one of the photo references, I believe there are about 5 that I have sent for you to use, approved photos for you to use for project 2, the one we're working on now. I would recommend starting off with the envelope one, the one that was here, to do this, and then transition into this. So I'm going to show you how to transition from this very simplified envelope to something like this. Note that I am using a different, this is a pastel pencil, and I'm just using it to darken the lines, but the majority is done with an H graphite pencil and a mechanical eraser that's pretty nifty. I put an eraser similar to this in the Amazon links, so you can feel free to check them out, so you can purchase your materials. So just like in project 1, you're going to have all of the footage, at close to all of the footage in the development of the painting that we're going to be creating with the using the printout and then the photo reference and then all of that. So this is going to be much more footage, and my SD card right now on the camera should still have enough space for quite a decent amount of footage. So especially if this is your first year, or first, I don't know, if you've been painting for less than 5 years, I highly recommend you do this. And I know that you know, you want to get into paint faster, like we did with project 1, just jumping right into paint in the second day. And that's okay, you can do that, that's perfectly fine. But I want, especially for those of you that have less experience with portrait painting, I want you to witness this stage. And again, I'm using sight size. So the camera is now further back. Hopefully it will be able to pick up the audio as I speak. So what I'm doing is I'm ghosting these lines. I'm introducing you to the concept of ghosting. So when you're ghosting a line, and so I'm going to just start to subdivide these shapes a little bit more, and then I'm going to introduce the landmarks of the face, and it's going to be another a separate printout using one of the options that you have for project 2. I have an illustration of the landmarks. So right now I'm just kind of ghosting and going over the ghost again with the H pencil. Also, I mentioned in the behind the scenes video that I just filmed that I'm going to be changing the live streams from for the live stream tier. I'm going to be changing the live stream from being monthly to weekly. So please comment down which days, which hours would be most convenient for you, and I'll take an average of the suggestions. I've got the camera a little closer now, so hopefully you can hear the audio a little better. So you start off with simple straight lines and angles. You know, whereas this was a trapezoid, now we're going to take this measurement again. I also have a caliper listed in the materials. So now see how we're going to start to build using a series of straight lines and angles this specific line. So the advantage, excuse me here, the advantage here with site size is we can quite literally compare the outlines. So here you can see the transition now, especially here, from here to here. That is the subdivision of these straight lines. That's why I've mapped them out like this. So you can see all of those planes. Because straight lines in your drawing translates to planes in your painting. You want to learn how to study the nuances of each one of these little pieces of the puzzle. You know, even this, you know, whereas it's just one straight line, you can now start to make it more nuanced. And that's why, this is why I recommend this paper, the Strathmore. This paper, like I have listed for you, so you can purchase if you like from Amazon, or you can purchase it on your own through another avenue. This Strathmore 400 series can really take a beating. So I like this paper for this. If I were to make a very smooth and polished and rendered drawing, then I would probably go for a Bristol paper, which Strathmore makes Bristol, but I'm not going for that. This is just a linear drawing. But again, you're seeing things that you know, have never been and probably never will be shown on the YouTube channel. Just because, again, I don't really think that, you know, the viewers, you know, the YouTube channel is more for marketing and helping people. But most of them, I mean, a lot of the viewers kind of tend to shy away after a video is split into so many parts, or a painting is split into so many parts. But again, with you, I don't have that concern because I know that you're serious students. The eyebrows don't have to go into that much specificity, but I'm still kind of walking around the outside perimeter, or the outside shape. See how you can tell straight line? Straight line. Now clearly, you can tell that this angle is off. And I try to keep myself at about an arm's length away. And also what this transfer drawing does is it gives you time to prepare your painting surface. And also to studies. Like I'm doing a study of the face. I'm doing a study of this. And in the study that I've been working on, I think I elongated the face. So I'm going to be very cautious about those proportions here. So see, as where before it was just one straight line here, straight line there. Now we're gonna get into all these little nuances. So, whoops, there goes the pencil. Oh, yeah. Excuse me. I'm a little concerned with this. It could be a little squashed. But then again, I don't know if I put the paper in the right spot. Yeah, I think it's a little squashed. So in trying to make it a little less elongated, I might not have elongated it. Let me get the caliper out. Alright, now with the caliper, we're going to look at the tear duct shape down to the chin. I'm going to go ahead and place the tear duct. And then after this placement, we're going to get into the landmarks of the face, as this is one of them. So tear duct to bottom of the, tear duct to bottom of the chin, tear duct to bottom of the chin. That's an optical illusion because it looks really squashed to me, but it's not. Okay, so let's pinpoint this down. And now let's get into the landmarks of the face. And so yes, I know it's kind of all over the place, but I'm going to have this be a printout that you can download. So just go to the next post after this one is uploaded. I'll have this picture so you can download it. So let me explain it. So here are the two tear ducts. Okay, two tear ducts are going to help you place, place your objects in space, which is where we started. Now you want to look at the corners of the nose, one here
one here. You can use vertical lines, so plumb lines, to relate, how far to the left does the corner of the nose go relative to the dots. So I'm going to adjust the light sensitivity. So you can use plumb lines from the landmarks, the corner of the nose and the corner of the tear duct, see? And it'll help you place each of those objects. Then you have the bottom of the chin, the centermost point on the bottom of the chin. You have the top of the hairline. Okay, then you have the bottom of the nose, which corresponds to the top middle portion of the upper lip. These are landmarks of the face. Middle of the lips, the two corners of the lips, the bottom of the lips. So I usually use the corner of the mouth here and relate a vertical with the corner of the nose and see what angle specifically is this making. You can do that with the other side as well. And then you can also use horizontal lines with the other landmarks. The tragus of the ear would be a little dot there for the tragus of the ear. This would be the furthest corner of the side of the face. So if you use a vertical, that is the peak of convexity. That's the point that sticks out the furthest. Bilateral symmetry, so that's why I have this image, so I can look at it from this side. And now the bottom of the earlobe. I usually use the bottom of the earlobe to use horizontal lines to compare the bottom of the nose. So does the bottom of the nose, does it go lower than the earlobe? And it does. It goes a little bit lower than the earlobe, but explaining exactly how much lower it goes is what will get you that nice accuracy. You have the ramus of the jaw. So this is a little harder to point out because it's a skeletal landmark that's a little bit, you kind of have to conceptualize it as where is the furthest corner of the side of the mandible here, and then compare it to the other side. Even though I didn't put it there, you can compare it to the other side. And then you have the corners of the neck. I usually use the corner of the neck to compare to the lip. See that? So what angle is that specifically? So that's what I look for that. And you can use you can use these landmarks however you want. This is the root of the nose. This gives me the actual length of the nose. So from the root of the nose down to the bottom of the nose gives me the length of the nose. This is the nasion bone. Okay, so the nasal bone is usually, the root of the nose is usually higher than the tear ducts. The nasion is usually somewhere sandwiched in between the tear ducts. Sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower. It depends on the characteristics of your model. Then you have the furthest point to the right of the eyebrow, also the concavity of the eye socket here, which I use to draw quite frequently. What exact angle and what is the depth of the concavity of the eye socket. This area here really helps to describe the likeness of your model. And then the furthest point of the eyebrows, which is also the corner of the eye socket. Again, describing this will also help you to describe the skeletal structure and ultimately the likeness of your model. So now that I have shown you the landmarks, let's get into how to actually use them when drawing. Alright, so now how do we actually go about using the landmarks? So as I was getting into the tear duct, let's start with that. So again, just to double check. Alright, so the distance is good. Now let's go ahead and actually start to draw in some landmarks. So there's the tear duct there. I also forgot to mention the center of the iris is another, but it's one that I seldom use. But it is illustrated there in the printable. Okay, so let's go now from one tear duct to the other. So about here. Okay, so you want to take into account the root of the nose as it starts somewhere over here, gives way to this plane, which is why we have the shadow shape that looks like this. Now we'll use a vertical. Pinpoint the corner of the nose. So now we just go and start to add more shapes. You know, even this little distance here is something I would try to get as correct as I can in this stage. Okay, so why stop there? Now let's look at this. Now this is way off. That has to move to the right. So these landmarks give you a language. See, I'm gonna literally draw a vertical. And it looks like the nose goes a little further to the right. Make a mark there for the corner of the side of the nose. That's why I used the other image, because it was front and center, pretty much front and center, whereas this one's 3/4, so instead of using the other side of the nose, I have to use the top of the bulb of the nose. So we're about good there. And you don't have to do this every time. But what this does is it gives you a taste, a pretty good taste of accuracy. What it feels like to be accurate in your drawing. So use the bottom of the nose, draw vertical. You know, ask yourself, where exactly does the top middle of the upper lip go? So we are correct in our little assumption there. Okay. Whoops. So we pinpoint it down. Follow down. What is the thickness of the upper lip? It's not as thick. Place your mark. Down again. The lower lip is thicker. We're about good there. We're almost good here. This is a little thicker. Lower lip has to get a little thicker. And that would be part of her likeness, the likeness of Barbara. Alrighty. Now we will look at some more. Use a vertical. Corner of the mouth is a little bit further to the left relative to the nose. So we were about right with our first line to about yay, about there. Okay, go out here, guesstimate first, lightly make that mark, and now check. I think we're about good, but let's be even more smart about this. And we're good. So our guesstimation was pretty good. Now remember, her lips curve up a little bit, so now we just make the line a little more nuanced. Bottom of the lower lip. Upper lip. Alright, so now we have our basic landmarks for the face, at least the ones that we need at this point. Now let's just start to add more. Now here's where I could be running into trouble. Distance from the eyebrow to the upper eyelid. I was going to make this the lower eyelid, but it looks like that has to be the upper eyelid. I'm going to step back. A lot of optical illusion, at least on my end. And when you draw this accurate, it can get a little trippy at times. Just trust in the outlines. And allow yourself the opportunity to get it wrong in this stage, which I clearly have, something doesn't feel right here. So I think it has to do with this eye being a little bit too far. But before I do anything, I'm going to go to the other side, put down my best guess, and then check it. Alright, now it's starting to make sense. I think it's just the shape of the eye is a little strange. Alright, so now that I have placed the other eye, returning to this one, I think it's the shape that's bothering me. We're gonna ghost. I'm gonna just use my instinct here. I feel like it's also a matter of the distance. So if I'm saying the tear duct is here, and the tear duct is here, check. Wow. So we're accurate, but it doesn't feel accurate to me. So again, it's optical illusion. Now when I stand back, it makes sense. It works. But up close, it doesn't. It's a very strange thing. Alright, that feels a little more like our model. Alrighty, the pencil has been sharpened. So I don't think that, you know, getting the outline exactly like what we're seeing here is as important as getting those big placements down. So now let's go ahead and just look at the shadow shape. I invite you to think about it two-dimensional at first. I'm literally just looking at the two-dimensional picture plane. It feels like this is off, and I think that it has to just move. So just walk around the image, walk around the shadow shape, picture yourself as an explorer or a detective trying to trace out the exact pattern of the shadow shape. And again, this is just like the Barg drawing, Barg methodology. That is what has inspired this practice, or this particular teaching tool. So now that I have this landmark, I can clearly tell without even doing anything that the neck is off. And I'm just going to do this just optically for now. Then I'll check it. Alright, let's check it. So It appears that they almost match up. So I'm quickly going to just double check the tear duct to the mouth. Almost match up, mouth a little further left. Almost match up, mouth a little further left. So this does have to move a tiny bit to the left. So just like a detective, gather the evidence, formulate your opinion, test it. And this is all the drawing is. It's fixing your worst mistake. Think of drawing as a series of corrections. This I'm not going to worry about too much. Our main focus is here. You know, you want to familiarize yourself with these shapes, and this feels off. Feels like this could be a little closer. So see how I have a working line? So I can easily just move the lines. Let's see how far off it is. Assuming that this is too wide. It's off by tiny. Just the thickness of the line. And again, the stuff to the left, I'm not too worried about. This is what we're mainly focused on. Let's quickly double check our thirds. Just to get a familiarization. So this is telling me, okay, I'm doing that wrong, sorry. The top of the eyebrow to the top of the head, or the hairline, should be a third. And it is, roughly. Let's check that here. Good. Okay, so the chin should be a little bit lower. Good. So the chin is a little bit lower there. So we're in good shape. Now I have moved through this rather fast, just because I have a lot of experience doing this. But for you at home, you know, if you have less than 10 years experience painting and drawing, I would take 2 days on this, not just 1 day. 2 days if you can on the lines, trying to get the lines as accurate as possible before moving on. And remember, if you haven't ordered the tracing paper, if you don't have the tracing paper yet, I would get the tracing paper, order it, or if you prefer, just purchase it on your own in the store. You're going to want the tracing paper and the charcoal. We're going to use the charcoal and the tracing paper to transfer the lines onto the surface that hopefully you have already purchased and toned. If you haven't purchased and toned it, please check out last week's lesson, because you want your tone to be dry and ready for you to do the transfer and start the painting process. But again, this stuff here isn't as important. Now clearly there's part of her arm here in the picture that I'm missing, so that we'll add later on. But I want to stick with this size for the 8x10 printouts. Alright, so that's about it for this week's lesson. This outline is almost ready for transfer. I still have a few more things to fix here to get it to match up as accurately as I can possibly get it. So this is what I would be expecting in the for the virtual classroom for the feedback video. If you started with color, or if you started with the raw umber oil paint already, that's not a problem. That's okay if you want to get into paint much faster. Just know that you can always use the printout to help you see more clearly what the dimensions and the proportions are for for this transfer. 'Cause even still, this appears way off. So I would need more of the hair here. So this isn't quite finished yet for the transfer, but I would be expecting a lot more specificity towards getting your drawing to look as close to the printout as possible before moving on to the next step. So next time we'll cover the transferring process. Again, I would highly suggest, if you haven't ordered or purchased the transfer paper, please get the transfer paper and the charcoal. And that is the end of lesson 10. I have a few little notes to add at the end of this lesson. So learning how to draw sight size and trying to get the most accurate linear drawing is a very time-consuming, and it requires a lot of patience. So that's one thing to note. I myself am much more inclined to just jumping right into oil paint or light and shadow, large masses of value. That's just my tendency of working, but I found personally, for my own work and for many others that I've met, really taking the time to study in this BARG-like methodology helps tremendously in increasing your eyes, the accuracy of your eye to see spatial relationships in your future works. And again, thank you so much for being part of these online classes. I really enjoy the community that we have created here with these online classes. I wish you the best in all of your artwork. I look forward to seeing all of your work in the future virtual classroom, and I'll see you on the next one.